Looks like I'm live, but I can't see myself. Can you guys see me? Anybody? Let's see here. Is this working, guys? Am I live? Can you see me? Nope. Doesn't look like it's working. Oh, here I am. All right. Well, okay. So, welcome to the stream, guys. I'm going to minimize my face in a second, get my ugly face out of your way, and show you some interesting content, because I've got some interesting stuff to share with you guys tonight. And, you know, I've got a lot of things going on in my life right now, so I'm not uploading as much as I'd like to be honest. But here we go. Let's jump into the content you're here to listen about. Basically, our current mayor here in San Francisco, London Breed, just elected a new DEA. His name is Chesa Boudin, not like the bread factory, the Boudin bread factory, no. More like the Boudin family that was an active planning part of the Weather Underground. And if you know anything about the Weather Underground, they were basically communists during the 1960s up into 1969, and by 1970 they're basically just like in hiding because the FBI were finally onto them. But they were a group that were communists, and they were fighting the war in Vietnam, and they wanted to fight America by planting a whole bunch of bombs in places like government buildings, politicians' offices, police stations, to name quite a few. And they're also doing other like literal just terrorist organization type activities, like doing bank robberies to fund themselves in order to do things. So Chesa Boudin, all right, I'm going to minimize me now. Take a look at this. Okay. So, he's our new DEA, and this guy, his only experience is being a public defender, and if you know anything about being a public defender, it's not exactly a well-paid position, and because most lawyers want to be paid well because of how hard it is to pass the bar, not many people do it, guys. To be honest, it's not exactly a position for your average lawyer, especially one like Chesa Boudin, and that's because his background is from Yale. So he went to Yale, and we're gonna kind of pick at his background here because I am deeply suspicious of this guy. See, I think this guy is quite literally part of the deep state, and he has a pretty squeaky clean background because he's a public defender. Sorry. But in reality, this guy is about as communist as it gets, because you see, his mommy, when he was less than 2 years old, was sent to jail for the murder of 2 police officers and an innocent armored car driver. See, they were trying to rob the armored car, and it ended up killing 2 cops. His father and mother were arrested, and his father is still in jail to this day. His father's still in prison to this day. And so he's running on the basically the campaign and the platform that he is for prison reform. He's for lower sentences, and he wants to be seen as being soft on crime, basically. And most importantly, he wants to reduce something called gang. There's a specific... What are they called? There's a specific law. Enhancements. There we go. Gang enhancements. So gang enhancements, I already read about. Gang enhancements are basically universal across the United States, where basically whenever you're prosecuting someone that's known to be in a gang and they're doing something on behalf of a gang, they are prosecuted a little bit more harshly because we know that they have connections, and while members of a gang are on the streets, they are very likely to do more harm than an individual who's not part of a gang. So in effect, they're more dangerous to society, quite literally. And so he wants to reduce that. He wants to basically get rid of that. And I've heard him in interviews already on NPR. I've been listening to this guy, and he's like quite serious about being soft on crime. And he's for prison reform. And prison reform sounds good right now because there's a whole bunch of African Americans behind jails, in jail, and so he wants to sound good like that. And this is something that London Breed gets a lot of cred for with her community because she's black, and so she's going to get a lot of loyal supporters from the black community because they see her basically keeping more black people out of prison. Problem is, guys, this is just another of many, many crazy social experiments that communists have wanted to do to basically destroy the country. See, they don't actually know whether this is going to work. This is completely... in the Soviet Union, now I'm kind of a historian that knows a lot about the Soviet Union because I got to live in Russia, and I'm just curious. So I got to look into a lot of the history. And something that very few people know about the Soviet Union is after the Red Revolution, the Bolshevik Revolution, believe it or not, they actually, some of the early laws that passed actually basically emptied some of the prisons. And I know of at least 12 good examples of where criminals that were guilty of murder, theft, and or even like multiple murders and rape, those kinds of individuals that did some of the worst things possible actually were elevated to high-ranking positions within the Bolshevik leadership. And that's because communism, if you ever get the chance... Oh, sorry, I don't have it down here. But The Naked Communist is an amazing book you should read. You should understand that communism is not a legitimate form of government. It is always a clandestine or secretive, basically criminal organization ruling your government, basically. Communism is basically where criminals take over and they require a dictator because you cannot have communism without someone that has absolute power. Because if you have democracy, obviously things will, sooner or later, accidentally or not, they will get better because people will learn from mistakes. So you can't have real democracy under communism. So anyways, let's get back to Boudin here. So when he was literally not even 2 years old, his parents went to prison. And then guess who raised him? Bill Ayers and his wife, who were the founders of the Weather Underground. Okay? Founder Bill Ayers. So let's go ahead and just take a little peek at him and his Wikipedia page, because I'll tell you right now, he's one of the most staunch communists that I know of. But on top of that, he's going to probably be well placed within our society, because guess what? That's what happens when you're part of the communist deep state. You get taken care of. So I would guess also that he never served any time in prison. Former leader, blah, blah, blah. Okay, let's go ahead and see if he served any time. Self-described communist revolutionary group. Overthrow imperialism. Yep. Bombings. Yep. Protesting the war. Which is all good in many regards, but the more I read into it, McCarthyism was not only a great idea, but McCarthyism was needed to save the country from being literally overtaken by communists. And we need McCarthyism again, unfortunately, to save this country, because communists have more power in America today than you might otherwise know. And if this is all new to you guys, please don't just take my word for it. Please read books like None Dare Call It Conspiracy, the Naked Communist that I just mentioned, to name two really good ones. Some other ones that might help would be Operation Gladio, a peek of something I've been working on. I do this fairly often because I like to pass on knowledge and make organization for truthers like yourself, people that care about the truth. And I try to organize these things so people can kind of learn about what's going on. Sorry. Bear with me. I'm trying to bring up a website that usually works. Here we go. It's called Bubble. Sign in. Sorry, I'm just signing in on my other screen here. Okay. Hopefully I have it here. But this is just basically me trying to show you how many secret societies exist at Yale alone. That's all that I did, is I just looked at Yale, I believe. No, I'm sorry. I looked at several other old universities as well, but sorry, I keep things fairly scattered between different accounts intentionally. Sorry, I logged into the wrong one. Where is it? I think this might be it. Is this it? Yeah, I found it. Okay, guys. Hopefully this is interesting to you. Okay. I don't even know if I have any watchers right now, but I hope somebody's watching this, because this is actually pretty interesting content. So, I'm going to zoom in here. Acronyms. SS stands for Secret Society. PM, Prominent Members. And I just say that because I can't go into all of this stuff. But, alright, so most of the stuff on this particular mind map I made with Bubble US, it is great software that's free, by the way. I'm using a free version. So this goes to the beginning of the country. George Washington, Benjamin Franklin, many others, founding fathers of our country, were part of the Freemasons, which created uncountable numbers of break-off secret societies, such as and not limited to the Illuminati, the Rothschild family dynasty, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Bilderberg Group, the Rosicrucians, the Knights of Malta, the Knights Templar. A lot of these groups sound like they're dead, they're old history, but they're actually still around today, which is kind of creepy. The Order of the Seven Wise Men, also known as the Order of the Heptasophs. And this is just going back a bit here. Now we're going to go just look at Yale, okay? Where's Yale? Here it is. Here's Yale. So this one's looking at fraternal societies that make up the U.S. ruling class. And we've got universities like the University of Virginia, Cornell, University of Mississippi, Georgia, Genesee University, Centenary College, Transylvania College, Emory College, College of William and Mary, the oldest U.S. university in the country, Wesley University, Columbia University, Georgetown, Brown University, Dartmouth, you name it. All of these places have a great number of secret societies, and these ones that I've listed here are just the most secretive and prestigious, and I have not, literally, what you're looking at here is literally only, I don't know, maybe about 4 hours of research. So it's really not that much, but you know, to verify these things, it takes time, guys. So, and this is all just my free time. I'm passionate about this stuff, and I've not figured out how to really monetize this kind of stuff besides writing books, which I haven't done yet, because quite frankly, I'm not, I don't consider myself a great writer, but I could definitely write some interesting stuff. So anyways, prominent members of Skull and Bones of Yale, you know, this includes McJordan, William Bundy, the Buckleys, Senator John Kerry, who tried running for president. He didn't get into the presidency, luckily, because other veterans that went to Vietnam, correctfully so, corrected the record and said, hey, buddy, you were not a veteran. You were never part of the Swift Boat battalion in Vietnam. So he's a liar. He wanted to do what we call borrow valor. Talking out of his ass, basically. Actor Paul Giamatti was actually part of Skull and Bones, believe it or not, guys. And then we've obviously got the Bush family. All of them were part of Skull and Bones. And a great number of others, which is a huge surprise. William Howard Taft was a member. I already listed all the Bushes here. Okay. Then we've got Skull and Coffin. We've got Linoleum. We've got the Manuscript Society. We've got Mace and Chain, Book and Snake, Wolf's Head, and Scroll and Key. These are just the most prominent secret societies at Yale. So I'm listing this, guys, because I do believe that this guy looks to be just groomed as a communist. he's just got too perfect of a background. He went to the right universities. He was a Rhodes Scholar. You know, he didn't have to pay for any of this. I mean, this is insane. It's just so perfect, guys. Okay, so let's get to the point of why I am critical of him being in office. He's soft on crime. He wants to help criminals that are part of gangs avoid basically longer suffrage in prison, which means they're going to be more effective on the streets. So what my point here is basically, I believe he's going to challenge a already terrible city to live in, a suffering city, a city that's on the verge of basically socio-economic disaster. I don't know. That's how it feels here. If you live here, you know, they're like, yay, you know, all the offices are still running, but, you know, we've got like close to 15,000 people living on the streets of this city, which is just absurd considering the city is already so damn small. It's just really hard to believe that we're going to stop prosecuting to the, you know, fullest of the law to keep the streets safe. Now it's going to be more dangerous on the streets. We're going to still have these homeless people. He has said nothing about keeping the homeless off the streets. So that is not his prerogative at all. Not to mention, here we go. The police union. I'm just going to read this part because this is actually pretty important to basically really clearly say that the police are super against this guy, Chesa Boudin. All right, in San Francisco, the police union had carried political clout and historically balked against any district attorney reform efforts. Former District Attorney George Gascon, previously a San Francisco police chief, assembled a blue ribbon panel to look into the systemic bias within the police force after racist and bigoted text messages between 14 police officers, that's not leadership, emerged in a federal corruption case. Other than 14 officers that can be removed from their position, doesn't sound like a systemic, nationwide issue. Several more officers were later implicated in another separate racist and bigoted texting scandal. The union, the San Francisco Police Officers Association, or POA, responded by attacking Gascon on a statewide ballot initiative he co-authored, then reduced some nonviolent felonies to misdemeanors, a ballot initiative that 80% of the San Franciscos voted for and passed in November 2014. In this election, the POA and other law enforcement groups spent over $500,000 in polling and attack ads to defeat Boudin. But the days of the POA being untouchable appear to be over. After Boudin's election night, city lawmaker Sandra Lee Feuer, whose husband is a retired San Francisco police officer, led the crowd in a chant, "Fuck the POA, fuck the POA, fuck the POA." That's saying fuck the police. Like, literally, this is the end of, like, law and order in San Francisco, in my book. Like, this guy is the first thing he did is fire, I think, 7 people, and I have not had the time yet to look into who exactly those people were, because there are about 135 employees in the San Francisco District Attorney's Office. So that's a lot of, you know, paralegals and lawyers and such. 130, only losing 7. That's pretty surgical, I will admit. But nonetheless, who were those people? Were they just slackers, or were they people that were staunch advocates for conservative ideas, you know, protecting law and order? That's what I would guess it is. People that are against this kind of stuff. So I am just balking at the fact that this city is getting more communist, and London Breed is surrounding herself with communists because she wants, you know, black law offenders to stay out on the streets and to ruin the city further. And she wants to destroy the city. That's what she's doing. She's a terrible candidate. I've met her in person, and, you know, the only thing she runs on is social justice ideas. She has no ideas that are fiscally responsible. And, you know, I keep talking about it, and I want to film I've got a Kickstarter campaign video that I've written the script for, and I'm going to be filming very soon. But, I wish I had some more support going into it, because I just don't think I'm going to be successful if I don't have more viewers on this channel, which has effectively been shadow banned by YouTube a long time ago, because, I'm anti-communist, obviously, and people working at YouTube don't like people like me because I speak the truth, and I raise red flags where I think they need to be raised. I'm not a crazy, superstitious, I don't know, there's plenty of names you could call me, but this guy is dangerous, because if he wants people, he's not for the rule of law. It's that simple. He wants to basically keep more criminals out on the streets. Now, I am all for reducing sentences for drug offenses because they're not non-violent. But, this guy's honestly even talking about violent crimes and such, and reducing fines for all kinds of things. So, reducing sentences as well. So, it's pretty scary, guys. This guy, honestly, I want to get out of the city, because it's just getting worse. It's going down the tubes. If you live here's what I think we should do. For one, I don't know of anyone else that's willing to help fund this Kickstarter I want to do, but I want to do a Kickstarter for about $50,000 for me to do a investigative journalistic documentary about the homeless crisis here in San Francisco and what's being done about the problem. Because quite frankly, I'm on the side of mayoral candidate Ellen Lee Zhao. I tried to help her. She didn't take any of my advice because I'm a marketer, and I came in a little late on her campaign, but she's also very Chinese. But she didn't take any of my advice, but she made a lot of mistakes along the way in her campaign, but she got 15% of the vote, which is pretty good, because London Breed got just under 50%. So there's a wide margin of error there that could have swayed either way. And with a little help, London Breed and people like her can be beat in this city. And what I believe is, if the right information is given to the people here in this city, especially as the city and the area around the city are being gentrified by more white people moving in, I think what's going to happen in the very near future here is we're going to have our first Republican, or at least not Democratic, mayor in the next decade or two at the very latest, but I think within the next decade. And the last time we had that was in 1964. I forget the mayor's name, but we haven't had one in office since 1964. And, we desperately need a conservative in office to bring back the rule of law and to find a way to get our streets clean and safe. It's that simple. If you're going to run in this city, Ellen Lee Zhao basically did a good campaign fundamentally, just she didn't take any advice, and she didn't have anyone helping her with simple things like, copywriting, like lots of grammar and spelling mistakes. Anyway, I'm a marketer, so I care about these things, and I wanted to help, and it wasn't accepted, basically. Nonetheless, her campaign was simply make the streets clean and safe again. That was her entire campaign slogan. And she got the entire Chinese vote, which was about 15% of the city. So that's a big amount. But if someone else runs again on that campaign, I'd say you probably want to go for a white candidate, and you want to get the white vote and the Asian vote. And that's how you can win the city back from insanity and communists. And, guys, we're fighting real communists. We're fighting criminals, people raised by criminals, people that have attacked the American government. I would like to say the constitutional republic of America, but no, we're definitely more of a socialist democracy now. And that's because we are not abiding by the Constitution, and we are not upholding the laws that are on the damn books. So, we got to fix this country. There's a lot of work to be done, but I think it can be done. And we got to watch out for people like this who are, I honestly believe, part of probably a secret society or two that is pushing communism in the city. So anyways, guys, in the next month here or two, I want to get my Kickstarter campaign going, and please, 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 please donate so that I can make a good piece of evidence to suggest that, hey, of the $2.4 billion given on average per year now to fighting homelessness in San Francisco, how much is actually being spent on the problem, and what, if not, what is it actually being spent on is the point. So anyways, guys, that's what this video is all about. I hope I taught you something. I hope you find this interesting and it is thought-provoking and or even scary to you, because it is a little scary to me. And please give me a like and subscribe, and I hope to see you back on my channel soon. Thanks for watching, guys.